Eskom says it's opposing the application filed by General Electric and Alstom against it. General Electric has accused Eskom of rigging a tender for building a new boiler at its Duvha power station in Mpumalanga. It accuses the power utility of favouring Chinese state-owned company Dongfang, even though its bid was 1 billion rand more expensive than that of its rivals. Eskom says it's preparing its answering affidavit, which will deal with all of the allegations made by General Electric. It says the answering affidavit will be filed in court in due course and will be publicly available. Eskom executives and advisory firm Trillion were fingered for improper dealings with the Guptas in Thulimalonsela's State of Capture report. All parties have denied any wrongdoing. General Electric wants the High Court in Johannesburg to indict Eskom from implementing Dongfang's contract until it's been reviewed and adjudicated again. It says Eskom's decision to award the contract to Dongfang came just 8 days after Trillion gave its submission the thumbs up in a last-minute risk assessment of bids submitted. All right, well, to get some more reaction on this now, I'm joined by Eskom Acting Head of Legal, Suzanne Daniels. Suzanne, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, let's, before we get into all of that, let's start with this morning's judgment from the Western Cape High Court. You must have had a busy morning. What does the ruling mean for Eskom's nuclear plans?
I think for us the most direct impact is on the request for information that is currently out in the market. It will be closing on Friday. Obviously, all information that now is submitted by interest parties will be sealed until there's further direction from the court. I assume the Department of Energy will consider its legal cases, because most of it is against the Department of Energy and not Eskom. Eskom is really the executor in terms of the determinations.
So then how much work has already gone into the planning for nuclear, and how does the decision impact on the process going forward?
Well, we're currently assessing that impact. The judgment did make some comments that we need to see how does that affect things like fuel supply, etc. However, in the main, we were preparing to analyze the information as submitted by the interested parties. So I think what that would do is we'd sit down with the nuclear team, see what the assessment is. But as it stands, because it was ruled unlawful and unconstitutional, my recommendation to the team has been that we will not be looking at that information until there's further guidance from the court how to proceed.
Would Eskom be willing to abandon the nuclear option altogether? And I mean, we have an excess capacity and there are better options like green energy.
Well, it's not really Eskom's decision. That would be the Department of Energy in its integrated resource plan.
But could you see that happening?
It depends what is finalized in the integrated resource plan.
The cost of nuclear has also been a big talking point. You know, there's talk that the deal is in the trillions. Our national budget is 1 trillion rand.
Well, analyst this morning I was listening to them says the figure of 1 trillion is far-fetched. What we had hoped for is a more realistic figure from the RFI that has been that was in process. So that would have been Eskom's gauge as to what it was going to be, you know, in terms of the program. However, now we will not be able to access that information until there's further directions.
All right. How long do you expect further directions to come?
Well, the court judgment today was quite emphatic about setting it aside. It really will depend on how the Department of Energy responds, because it was the main respondent. You will see that Eskom is not a party to the proceedings. So really we would have to just abide by what happens next.
Okay, let's look at the General Electric matter taking Eskom to court on allegations of tender rigging. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Eskom feels that it has a strong position, and as we speak right now, my team is busy preparing the opposing papers. We have filed a notice of opposition, and as soon as our papers are done, we will be filing and we will answer the allegations that General Electric has set out in its papers. And then it will become a matter of public record, because any member of the public would be able to have a look at their papers.
The Ombudsman has also agreed with Eskom that the Denton report was incorrect. It must be a bit of a relief.
Well, not that the Denton's report was incorrect, but rather that the Financial Mail reported incorrectly and inaccurately and misled on certain facts. So yes, Eskom is very pleased that there is at least some recognition and holding the media to account in the manner in which it reports.
Okay. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming in. Suzanne Daniels, acting head of legal for Eskom.